Imagine this. You're an Uber driver. You're at a red light. You notice that the cop is starting to block off the road. So you ask, how do I get to that hotel? He doesn't like your words, so he tickets you.
Well, I was at a red light, ready to make a left-hand turn onto a street called Louisiana in downtown to take him to their hotel. He was putting out some type of barrier as I was turning and told me I could not go that way. And I asked him, if I can't go this way, what is the designated area to go? I have customers that I'm Ubering and they're staying at the hotel. And at that time, he did not like what I said. And he said, pull it over there right now. So I pulled my vehicle over there.
What did you say to piss him off?
All I said is, what's the designated area to go? Because I have these people that I'm expected to take to their hotel.
So what was his purpose of having you pulled over?
Well, the citations show impeding traffic and disobeying an officer. But it was still at a red light when I was asking him these questions.
So you never actually impeded anything?
No.
Okay. It was all at a red light.
Correct.
You signed this as your release.
What am I doing?
You got arrested for impeding the flow of traffic and failing to obey a police officer.
Well, it was a red light.
Sir,
I got these people. It was a red light.
I told you what to do several times.
I couldn't hear you at the time.
Okay, that's fine.
It was a
That's
red
fine.
light.
We'll talk about it with the judge.
But the prosecutor, smart enough to realize what happens, he drops the charges. But then the police chief watches a YouTube video about your incident and the charges come back to life.
The very next day after I published this video, the Little Rock police chief texts the Little Rock prosecutor this message. Good afternoon. Any update on the issue we discussed yesterday evening concerning the citation that was null prost? And the prosecutor responds, yes, I'll give you a call in a bit. And so Mike's charges are now refiled, which is practically unheard of, especially in a situation like this.
If this were you, could you sue?
Give me a hell yeah! What? What?
But there's a huge wall that cops hide behind called probable cause, sometimes referred to as arguable or fake probable cause. Today, we're going to tear it down with text, stats, and the timeline. Let's go. The text, gold. The chief doesn't text the prosecutor about every drop ticket, does he?
So yesterday evening, so my video released at 11:11. So by that evening, they had talked about it. And then the next day, the text message is, hey, we talked about this yesterday evening, which just happens to be the evening my videos post.
I don't have all the chief's communications ever, but I don't think there's going to be a large list of cases where he's personally texted the city attorney's office asking them to undrop a case.
Especially a little traffic citation like that. How often have you seen a traffic citation that's been null prost, been refiled?
So I've practiced now for almost 11 years. I have never seen that happen.
He texts the day after a YouTube video drops about the incident. That's not random. That's revenge. But here's the problem. Cops say, we had probable cause. Case closed. Not anymore. There's 2 Supreme Court cases that changed the game. Let's break it down. No law degree needed. See the shield? That's probable cause in action. Picture it. Cops say, if we had a good reason to ticket you, even a tiny one, you can't sue us. That's the old rule. It's like a shield that blocked 99% of civil rights lawsuits. Why? Because cops can always make up any tiny reason. You didn't signal fast enough. You look suspicious. Keep in mind that the standard for probable cause is a much lower standard than, say, trying to convict you in trial. And courts will usually find probable cause exists. So, boom, shield up, lawsuit dead. But in 2019, the Supreme Court said, wait, there's a crack in the shield. Right there, that case, Nieves v. Bartlett. The crack? Well, if you can prove that the cop ticketed you because you spoke out and not because of the tiny reason, you win. And when you win, I mean the court completely ignores whether probable cause existed for the stop. But here's the catch. You used to need a twin, Someone who did the exact same thing but didn't speak out and wasn't ticketed. It's actually impossible, right? It's kind of like finding Bigfoot. But watch how the Supreme Court in 2024 flipped the script. Boom, shield gone. Meet Sylvia Gonzalez, a city council member in Texas. She criticized the city manager, so she started a petition to get him fired. Next thing, she was arrested. Guess what for? Accidentally putting the petition in the wrong folder. The law she broke? One that's violated every day by city workers. Oops, I took a form home, or I left a memo in my bag. That law has never been enforced except on Sylvia. So she sued, and the lower court said there is no twin, so no case. But the Supreme Court stepped in and said, no, you're wrong. The case name, Gonzalez v. Trevino. And in that case, the Supreme Court made clear you don't need a twin. You just need proof that this kind of thing never gets enforced until someone speaks out. Basically called objective evidence. Not exact evidence that this has happened before, but just objective evidence that you were targeted. That's the door. And in this Uber case, it's wide open. So how do you use this? Well, step one, you kill the probable cause excuse. Red light literally means you can't move. No impeding, no disobeying. You asked a question. That doesn't equal disobeying. But if that doesn't work, you go to step two and you use the Gonzalez case. So you would ask in discovery if there's a lawsuit, or if a lawsuit isn't filed yet, you send an open records request. And you want to ask how many dropped traffic tickets got brought back in Little Rock. Well, the answer from the lawyer in the video was never, not in 11 years. That's your proof. And then you go to step three, the text, the chief to the prosecutor. Any update on that ticket we talked about yesterday evening? Yesterday evening, a couple of hours after that YouTube video dropped. That's your smoking gun. So when you put it all together, what do you have? Well, there's no real reason for the ticket. Charges like this are never refiled. And then now you have the chief texting the prosecutor specific over this little traffic ticket? That's retaliation. That's a violation of the First Amendment. That's a lawsuit. So if this happens to you, what do? Well, you save everything. Body camera, text messages, timestamps. And then second, you FOIA and you request records. Ask for records specifically related to dropped tickets and how many of those dropped tickets were brought back. And what were the reasons for them bringing back? And then, of course, the last step, call a lawyer. I'm in Texas. I do civil rights litigation. If this were in Texas, it's a strong case. I assume a lawyer for this Uber driver would think the exact same thing. And this isn't just about Little Rock. It actually isn't about Little Rock at all. This is your First Amendment. This is my First Amendment. Cops don't get to punish you for speaking. Not on YouTube, not in an Uber, nowhere. So subscribe, hit the bell, and see you in the comments. This is Clearly Established. Thank you for watching.